What's the craziest reason you had to fire someone? Not my personal experience, but one fellow contractor had a safety guy for 6 months. One weekend he took a trip out of town for non-work related reasons, but used the company truck and charged it all on the company credit card. On his way up there he ran a random person off the road, who just so happened to be one of the owners of another contractor who works closely with the one who employed this guy. Shortly after he was fired, and I'm sure criminal charges were being brought against him. A couple weeks later his wife calls his former employer saying he had called her randomly and killed himself in his truck on the side of the highway. Me and another colleague went searching for records of this guy. Couldn't find anything, no claims of a suicide in the local paper where he supposedly killed himself at. Thought it was weird, but whatever. It turns out this guy falsified all his qualifications and job experience. Fast forward a month later, and I heard through the grapevine that the original contractor who had employed this guy received a call from some contractor across country because he applied for work there and put them down as his previous employer. He faked his own death to get out of trouble with the company, then proceeded to put them down on his resume, not expecting anyone to check his references, lol. Once I had a guy call in sick to his restaurant bar shift right before his shift and then proceeded to show up shit-faced drunk for happy hour during the time he was supposed to be working. He was not a bright man. Dumbo stole a $100 bill out of the register at the end of his first shift alone on register. Firings done because people do not realize that the cash gets counted. 1. They activated a gift card for $100 and keyed in $100 as if someone had paid $100 for the gift card. Of course, that night the drawer was $100 short, and activation was on the receipt too. She was already on the radar under suspicion of taking a $20 from the drawer. Then $20 disappeared from another drawer, but not one she had been using. Her cashier number was not on the record, except the security footage did show doing something at the register. Turns out, she memorized another employee's cashier number. Sneaky, but not sneaky enough. A firing done for other reasons. One employee was fired for pretending to ring up his friend. He could have gotten away with it. He scanned everything on price check mode, pretended to swipe his buddy's credit card, and fed a length of blank register tape out as if the receipt were printed out. No one noticed anything off, except his buddy never asked him to do it. The cashier took it upon himself to hook him up, and at the end the friend was left thinking, what the fuck just happened? He felt so guilty. The next day he brought the items back and told the manager what had happened. We had someone fall asleep at his desk with a lit cigarette in his hand. In an office full of cubicles like maybe 6-7 years ago, smoking wasn't legal anywhere indoors, let alone in an office building, LMAO. And the first time he wasn't even fired. He was fired when it happened again. Not too crazy, more stupid than crazy. One of the programmers on my team was sitting at his desk looking at porn. And this is cubicle land, no offices. My director walked into the area to talk to me and saw it. Then it was the first thing he told me about, so I got up and walked over for a look myself, and there it was. Me and the director looked at each and I said, I gotta take care of this. So we walked back to HR. I told them what was going on and what we saw, and they told me to fire him. So I did. He lost a $110K job for looking at porn on his computer at work. Had to fire a guy for coming to work high on meth and getting lost in a closet while painting it. Asked what the deal was and was told SHHHH I am having a conversation. That was his last day, LMAO. Hoo boy, I'd have to go with a guy who in the span of 24 hours started a fist fight with another employee on camera with witnesses, then called the police and said the other guy did it, trying to press charges. I just sent the video. Trespassed on the property the following day and slurred at my boss on camera with witnesses, then called the police and said my boss did it. I just sent the video. Hurt himself somehow and went to the hospital. where he told the doctor he'd been attacked at work. Doc found no injury consistent with his story and well yeah, camera. Fired a guy for looking to pay someone to cast black magic on the owner and the owner's family to bewitch them into giving him a raise and, ironically, never firing him. Only reason I found out was because he asked someone else in the office for help in finding a witch doctor to cast the spells and word got round. No one wanted to be in the same room as him after that. When I confronted him he said the devil made him do it so it wasn't his fault. I live in the Middle East. I definitely did not wake up expecting to fire someone for black magic that day. Side note, practicing black magic is literally a death sentence here. One thing I loved about working in a restaurant was getting stuff in bulk. We could always ask my boss for 25 pounds of onions and he'd buy them at the restaurant supply depot and sell them to us at cost. Same for kegs, meat, base ingredients, whatever. It was dope. One of our cooks was also a sushi chef. One time we had the boss pick up just a fuck ton of sushi stuff and sashimi grade fish. The sushi dude then taught us how to make sushi and we ate like kings for a couple days. The difference was, we always paid for it, and if the boss needed us to work an extra shift, cover someone who no Khaled no showed, or even help him clean his pool, then we always said yes. Plus he's hook us up with free beer constantly. I have a very Hispanic last name, but I'm very white looking. 6'2" tattooed, shaved head, white skin. My knife went missing on sight. I see a new guy and asked to see his knife. The knife was ground down where my name was engraved into it. When I asked him why the fuck he stole my knife, he said, "It's not yours. I stole it from some beaner. I am a beaner, you fucking moron." Fired him right then. LOL. Since then I paint all my tools pink. Most construction workers are too manly for pink tools. Not me. He worked at the company for 2 weeks, came to the Christmas party on Friday, got shit-faced, told the HR manager that she was a slut and would die alone. They had some previous vaguely romantic history, went on a couple of dates or something, tried to fight 2 of the customer service managers who asked him to calm down, and while being escorted out he turned to the CEO and COO and told them to go fuck themselves. He showed up to work on the Monday talking about how fun the party was and how he had seen some people who would probably be called into HR that morning. He was the first and only employee to be called and was sacked on the spot. In the early 2000s I managed a coffee shop that required the customers' names to be put on the cup. One guy looked like he was doing it, but upon closer inspection on some cups he was writing an IP address. Turns out he was running an illegal sports book out of the shop. He did quit before I had to technically fire him because he found out I knew. Plumber. My helper and I went to do a punch list at a new home. When the very attractive 20-something-year-old answered the door, I asked what the problem was, and she said, "When I take a shower, the shower head makes a whistling noise." My helper said, "Hell, if I saw you naked, I'd whistle too." She complained to the super. I had no choice but to fire him. When I was a bank teller, a fellow teller got fired for stuffing her purse with a strap of $100s every day, $10,000. Here's the interesting part, she always put the strap back into her teller drawer at the end of the day. She did this for months and months apparently without anyone noticing. But when the camera auditors finally did catch it, she was confronted and fired. When they asked her why she put a strap of money in her purse each day but always put it back, she said that if the bank were ever robbed then she could just take the money home because everybody would have assumed it was taken by the robber. Used to work at a laser tag facility. It was mostly high schoolers who worked there. One guy had only been working there a couple months when he came in on a field trip with some classmates, including his girlfriend. He thought it would be a good idea to sneak his girlfriend into the fog room inside the maze during their game, have sex, then brag about it to the management team. Underage sex at work is, and surprisingly, Not something you should be engaging in, and definitely not something you should be publicizing. We'd also hold these overnight events where you'd come in from midnight to 6 AM and play all night long. Had a guy show up reeking of booze and clearly high on cocaine to work that shift. He got fired on the spot, and I'd occasionally run into him on the bus afterwards. Man, that was the best job though. I have so many insane stories from those times. I had to fire someone because they refused to take off their Confederate flag hat when politely asked by the black wedding party who were concerned it might end up in the back of photos. 18-year-old me and him had quite the discussion about freedom of speech and at will employment that day.